Joining us from Washington is Adam Schiff, a Democrat from Burbank, Pasadena, and Glendale, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, at least up until January. Congressman, thanks for taking the time.
Great to be with you.
So let's talk a little bit about your ally. You've been a close ally of Nancy Pelosi's. She will be long remembered as one of the most influential speakers in American history. Give us your assessment as to her leadership and what it means for California now that she's leaving the leadership in the House.
Well, you know, as we gathered around her on the House floor to hear her farewell address as our leader, you know, I think all of us felt the same way, that we were in the presence of greatness, that this was a historic figure that will go down as perhaps the greatest speaker in history, who was able to do more with the narrowest margins than any other. And she was able to do that because she combines so many talents, knowing each of the members, knowing what they want, knowing, more importantly, what they need, their districts, understanding the legislative process, knowing how to use all of the leverage, whether you're in the minority or majority. She often got more in the minority than the Republicans did when they were in the majority, because she was such a skillful negotiator and obviously tough as nails when she needed to be, as Donald Trump would find out. But I think what she will be most remembered for is extending health care to tens of millions of people in the country that didn't have it, and defending democracy in its darkest hour.
We had some Republicans who've said, listen, Nancy Pelosi has been a target of theirs, but they admired certainly one thing about her. She was able to keep the Democratic conference in line in a way that may be far more difficult for Kevin McCarthy if he were to become Speaker. I'm just interested, what does your side think of what's happening on the other side? Do you personally believe the Bakersfield Republican is going to be the next Speaker?
Well, I think he will be. The question is, will he be able to stay a speaker for very long? And honestly, I think that is a very doubtful proposition. You're right about Nancy Pelosi. She was not only able to keep us together, a very diverse caucus, but able to, with that narrow majority, usher in major legislation, the most massive investment in attacking climate change in our history, the legislation to help save lives during the pandemic, a massive infrastructure bill, you name it. She did that with no votes to spare. McCarthy has none of her talent and none of her intellect. And so it's going to be very hard for him. And there's something else that he's missing that Nancy Pelosi has, and that is, he has no ideology. There is no ideological glue to hold his members together. And so I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm afraid it's going to be a circus. And I say I'm afraid of it because the country needs our government to be functional. And it's hard to imagine it being very functional with Kevin McCarthy.
Let's talk about your future. The Politico is reporting that you chose not to seek a leadership position within your caucus, and that you're focusing on a possible run for the United States Senate, perhaps when Dianne Feinstein is up in 2024. Can you comment on that? Are you interested in running for statewide office?
Well, you know, at the moment, I'm really keep my focus on the speaker, and I think this hour should be about her. I did consider a role in leadership in the House, but I was persuaded by many of my colleagues in the California delegation in particular, and given that we are losing from leadership a real powerhouse, that is Nancy Pelosi, I've been urged to consider running for the Senate if Senator Feinstein decides not to run for re-election in 2 years. So I am exploring it. But I really want to confine my comments this morning to Speaker Pelosi, because I think she really deserves our attention and our accolades.
Give me your sense of Donald Trump seeking another term in office. When you saw him make that announcement this past week, you know, what do you think is going to happen next?
Well, I watched his announcement, and all I can say is I want that hour of my life back. But what I was hoping, frankly, in the midterms, among other things, is if we were successful in upsetting the history of a midterm of a president's first term, if we were successful in upsetting those expectations, and we were, that it would cause Republicans to consider finally abandoning Donald Trump. You know, it's been clear, Conan, over the last several years, the Republican Party would not abandon Trump simply because he was dishonest. They were willing to live with that. They wouldn't abandon him because he's unethical. They were okay with that, too. They wouldn't even abandon him when he proved himself such a danger to the country, siding with Russia over our own national interests. But they will abandon him if they decide he's a loser. And if they tie their wagon to his, they'll be losers, too. And in the midterm, they found out that they will be losers if they continue to cling to this deeply flawed human being. So I think the midterms moved us one step forward in moving the country away from this ugly Trumpist era. But there's no certainty around that. And there's still a lot of hard work ahead of us to defend our democracy from the likes of him.
Congressman Adam Schiff, Democrat of Burbank. Congressman, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.